Marchand mania sweeps France. How can one swimmer dominate so? We debrief the 22-year-old Frenchman's first gold. Team eventing, mountain biking, giving Britain their first gold medals at the Paris Games. Building a better medals table, statisticians have come up with a model that adjusts the probability of medals according to population. Also in our crosshairs, shooting. It wasn't always air rifles. In this edition, how dueling pistols was briefly an Olympic sport. Welcome to Destination Paris. I'm François Picard. We're in the company of Selina Sykes, who's out and about on this day 3 of the Paris Games. Selina, tell us where you are today.
Well, I'm outside the Grand Palais right now. It's very hot still. It's 6 p.m. and it's still boiling here, Francois. We've just seen some good and some not so good results for the French in fencing here.
We'll talk about it in a minute. Daily Beast contributing editor Craig Copetas. What is that T-shirt?
We have fans in the Dominican Republic. Oh. They asked me to wear this and give them a shout out and to promise that we'll make sure baseball is back in the games by Los Angeles.
Okay. And we're also happy to welcome sports reporter, former Olympic swimmer James Parrack. How are you, sir?
Very well.
All right. We begin this edition with the France 24's roving reporter, Clovis Casali. Clovis, tell us where you are.
Well, I'm here at the largest free fan zone in Paris, just outside City Hall. A lot of activities here. Basketball nets, climbing walls, and of course, giant screens. You can maybe hear behind me the cheering. A lot of people here. It's packed every day. It's currently at its full capacity of 3,000 people. International atmosphere. We've seen Scots in kilts, Brazilian, Mexican shirts, a lot of English people also, and of course, French. Many families who've come from all over to be here. It's as festive as it gets, and I can tell you, a lot of cheering as people are watching Olympic events. Cheering, of course, for their favourite teams and athletes.
And we can hear that in the background. Clovis, I believe if you look straight ahead of you, you can peer over to the Seine. There was another round of training for the triathlon, the water event that was cancelled this Monday. Can you give us an update? It's a story we're keenly following.
Indeed, 2 training sessions of triathlon cancelled Sunday and Monday, but the Deputy Mayor of Paris, Pierre Abadan, in charge of the Olympics here, tells me he is confident triathlon will take place tomorrow. Of course, if the pollution levels are down, but he thinks they will be. And don't worry, Francois, I know you would love to try these waters of the Seine. A little swimming, well, it's set to be one of the big legacies of these games. The Mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, saying that in 2025, everybody will be able to swim in parts of the Seine. Paris has invested 1.4 billion euros to mend infrastructures, build some new ones, and make sure that people can swim freely and especially safely in the Seine in 2025.
Clovis Casali reporting live outside the big fan zone in front of City Hall. Thanks for that update. James Parrack watching with, I can see, a little bit of envy. You wish you were swimming in the Seine.
I would love to swim in this. I can't wait. This is the legacy of the Olympics. Bring it on. I'll be there every morning, and I hope that there are going to be swimming zones in the river for all of us to get in for an early morning dip. I can't wait.
Okay. First Olympic final, first gold medal for a phenomenon called Léon Marchand. The 22-year-old's win in the 4, there you saw, that was on Sunday evening. His win in the 4x100 individual swimming medleys, only the beginning for a Frenchman who turns in jaw-dropping performances. Delano de Souza has that story.
It's been part of his daily routine for years. Even as a child, Léon Marchand knew exactly where he wanted to go.
To achieve my goals, I need to swim.
Marchand began swimming before he learned to walk and picked up his first medal at the age of 9. His parents are both professional swimmers, something the 22-year-old is well aware of.
Xavier Marchand. I know him well. Fine champion.
Marchand's mother competed in the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, and when her son returns to his hometown of Toulouse, she can't help but light up with pride.
He's gotten a lot of media attention, which he needs to cope with. So yes, for me, he remains my child. I'll take a step back from all that. I appreciate it. It's all good.
In 2020, Léon Marchand began attending Arizona State University. It was there that he began training under Bob Bowman, the coach of former U.S. Olympic champion Michael Phelps. While Marchand made history in Paris on Sunday, he's got 3 more individual events to go.
All right, so I'm going to put James Parrack for the untrained eye. Please explain to us, because this was the exact question that was asked to me while watching live on Sunday night. Why is the French swimmer half a lane ahead of everybody else?
Well, if we knew the answer to that, we would be bottling it, and everybody would be the French swimmer half a length in front of everybody else.
I mean, by the time of the 4th stroke, he'd already killed the race.
So, if you want to be good at something, you choose your parents very carefully. That's rule number 1, as we've just seen in the report. The second thing is this: great athletes, great people at anything, they have a portfolio of talents. It's not one thing. So if you score out of 10 on the 20 things that make for a great champion, he scores very highly on everything. And across the board, he does everything brilliantly, exactly like Michael Phelps did. And there are intangible things, like where you grew up, perhaps your place in number of children in the family, where you are in the family, your just resistance to illness or injury or coachability, who's around you at the time, are you growing up in an environment where there's enough swimming pools to swim in, what other distractions are there, and so on and so on. So it's a very complex question to answer, but what he does very well is he has an amazing genetic material. That's the first thing. The second thing...
An amazing genetic, he doesn't have the build that a Michael Phelps had.
I feel like he does.
You feel like he does?
Yeah. The 400 medley swimmers are tall, long arms, slimmer than the Adam Peaty 100 breaststroke power swimmers.
Right.
Now, what he does very well is moves through the water without doing any effort. So he has an ability to feel how he moves in the water and maximize his speed and distance with the minimum amount of effort.
Yeah, he stays underwater a long time.
And when he is underwater, he travels further than everybody else. And this is something, a very strange thing, which is difficult to see and almost impossible to coach, but he can do it. He can do it because he's got amazing genetic material that says, I can feel water better than most other people. Then you have to be able to work incredibly hard, absorb an enormous amount of pain, be comfortable in the training pool and the hours that it takes to be able to do that, love training, love competition, so on and so on and so on and so on. And you keep going further and further away from this, the center of just being physically talented and having a good feel. All these things come together in someone like him, and he wins by miles. And the rest of the world are watching him as you are, thinking, how on earth do you do it? They don't know. If they knew, they would do it.
Right. And is it already too soon? I mean, he's just only won one gold medal so far. Is it too soon to rank him in the pantheon of greats?
Yes. So we'll wait and see what his legacy becomes. However, if you're going to start, you start with what he's done. NCAA championships, he goes in the World Championships and win, 5 gold medals. You break Michael Phelps' world record, which is one of the toughest on the book. You come to your home Olympic Games, you become the star of the show. You then what? Then you do it all again and maybe do it again, and then the legacy is what it is. But yes, it's too early, but what a start. I mean, what an amazing swimmer. He is fabulous to watch.
Let me ask you, Salita Sykes, you were present on Sunday evening. How big is Marchand mania?
It's a massive, Francois, even in his heats. In the morning, people were just out of control in Nanterre. It was almost like a football game in terms of atmosphere. Everyone there with their French flags cheering him on. There's obviously so much expectation on this young man's shoulders. And it seems for now that the home crowd is driving in, and he's not really fazed by the pressure because, as you said, obviously he could still win 3 more gold medals at this Games. He seems to be really taking it in his stride, actually.
Taking it in his stride, James Parrack. Yeah, that's the other thing. He seemed nonplussed when he speaks to journalists.
So Ian Thorpe, when he was 14 and setting world records or winning world championships. The thing about Thorpe was how mature he was, how well he controlled himself, how aware he was of himself and his environment, how he treated the media, how he was able to cancel out all the noise, focus on what's important, keep in control the things that are in your control and forget about everything else. Marchand does the same thing.
Spare a cheer for Adam Peaty, the British breaststroker. This, Marchand, I'm pretty sure his father was a torpedo. Peaty last night, he came in second in the breaststroke, but milliseconds. Turned out about an hour ago, they reported he swam with COVID. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, spare a cheer for that guy. That's tough.
It's tough, and also he was 0.02 away from a seat at the great swimming table, which is to win the same event across 3 consecutive Olympic Games. The women have done it 3 times, the men only on 1, and that's Phelps. Peaty had his opportunity to get an invitation to that table.
How hard is it to do it when you have...
It's impossible to do it once, let alone twice. Come on, 3 times? Who are you kidding?
Amazing.
So yes, it is for him to have COVID and swim like that, and it's an amazing story.
And again, there's that question about the pressure, because when you're performing in the Olympics, when you're, do some athletes who the rest of the year perform great suddenly cave? Do others rise to the challenge unexpectedly, or does everybody basically stay on par?
You more or less know what everybody can do, but pressure causes diamonds. And so sometimes the people who love performing at the very highest level thrive under that kind of pressure and need it. And again, Marchand is one of those. That's another talent which you're just born with. You can't teach that. So yeah, you got to love the greatest stage.
One final question, James Parrack. What about the venue? What do you think of the swimming venue in Nanterre? How does it rank compared to others? Have you seen one Olympics swimming pool? You've seen them all?
To an extent, but now they're all in these multi-venue arenas, and this one is fabulous. It is amazing. The noise in there, the size of it. It's brilliantly dressed. It looks outstanding. The only problem is it's only 2 and a bit meters deep. It should be 3 meters deep. If it had been 3 meters deep, deeper water, faster pool, Marchand would have broken the world record.
Why is that?
It's about resistance in the waves.
Really?
So deeper water, the waves get dispersed more easily. Shallower water, the waves hit the bottom more easily and drag you.
So you're thinking math while you're swimming, right? Are you thinking math?
Well,
no.
You could think math, or you could also think about Hollywood fame. That's where swimming gold can lead to. Before Johnny Weissmuller starred as Tarzan, he was an Olympic champion right here in Paris in 1924. With these games a century later exactly, many looking for landmarks that speak to the last time the French capital hosted the games.
The monuments of games past. They were built for the Paris 1924 Olympics. There is a pool where athletic achievements were made. There is a stadium. It's just been renovated, but still holds the memory of an opening ceremony in front of 40,000 fans. A century later, these places where records were made again hold within them the hope of new victories and rejuvenating athletic successes in what is now a legendary pool. In 1924, the American swimmer Johnny Weissmuller won 3 medals here before heading to Hollywood to become Tarzan. One of the objectives in bringing the Games back to Paris 100 years later was to transform and renew infrastructure, to take what already exists and bring it back to life. In Colombes, just outside Paris, the Yves du Manoir Stadium was refurbished. 101 million euros were needed to make the century-old stadium ready to house the field hockey competitions of today's Olympics.
This grandstand was not altered. It's filled with history and has monument status. Coming here is a bridge to the past, to the 1924 Games.
Spectators can now fill its seats, just like they did 100 years ago. The enthusiasm and excitement of watching great athletic feats has not changed. Be it for matches or swim meets, Christine Caron knows well the joys of a roaring crowd. In 1964, she won the world record for the backstroke in the Georges Valeret pool.
It's a pool that brought me happiness. In training, we didn't have access to the entire pool because it was open to the public. We only had 1 or 2 swim lanes, so we'd also talk with others, with the public. I was a bit of a rising star for the French at the time.
Now 76, Caron still swims 3 times a week at her local pool. It's less than before, but she still loves the water.
Off we go for the day's lengths. I'll try to get 3 kilometers in. That's enough for grannies.
The next trip down memory lane, swimming in the now transformed Olympic pool, where her athletic destiny was made.
Only 3 kilometers, James Parrack.
She's impressive. Amazing.
Yeah. What do you think of outdoor pools?
Love them.
Yeah. Craig Copetas, have you been scouring the capital for vestiges of 1924?
Yeah, I have. The only one I've really found that interests me wasn't 1924. It was 1902 for the first golf course up about 30 miles north of Paris, which is no longer there. And the local stories is that the course is haunted by the ghosts of golfers past.
Perhaps something to revisit. Let's talk about the present now. Selina Sykes, this Monday, day 3, first gold medals for Team GB. It was in the team equestrian event at Versailles. Beautiful backdrop there with the chateau. And we talk about venues, also the mountain biking taking place not very far away from there, and Tom Pidcock overcoming a flat tire to retain his Olympic gold medal.
That's right. What a comeback from Tom Pidcock against all odds. Really, he was leading until the 4th lap when he got that punctured tyre, and he just really showed his pure talent in this discipline, retaining his gold medal. He was being trailed by the Frenchman Victor Koretsky until the very last lap. He was 40 seconds behind the Frenchman at one point, but managed to come back, a remarkable comeback for him. And obviously, he's just such a talented rider, isn't he? Because he's not just competing in the mountain biking. He's also going to compete in the road race on Saturday. I remember when he first kind of rose to fame at the Tour de France 2 years ago. I was actually there when he won at the Alpe d'Huez on Bastille Day 2 years ago. And he's just going strength to strength now, obviously, after defending his medal in the mountain biking here.
Yeah, there's plenty of other medals that have been happening. And, you know, the U.S. and China are set to dominate the tables by the time the closing ceremonies happen. But New York Times columnist Peter Coy has flagged perhaps a better way to do the medals tables. He found a retired astrophysicist and a consulting firm executive who together created a probability ranking for medals that compares countries' performances objectively while adjusting for differences in a population. Craig Copetas, this is, and you see the British do well here. This is not exactly the same as gold medals per capita, right? This is medals adjusted, rounded out in case there's if you have somebody from San Marino who wins a medal, that could alter everything. So it gets rid of the things at the periphery. Otherwise, the Bahamas would be number 1. But if we call that table up once again, we can see that it's a different way of ranking. What do you think of, what's your religion when it comes to the gold medal and the medal tables as a whole?
I don't pay any attention to them. I look at the characters. What were great Olympic memorable moments? For me, it was the hero. The way to judge a country is to look at its athletes. Back in 2000 in Sydney, there was a swimmer called Eric Musambi who came from Equatorial Guinea, and he wasn't supposed to be there. He was a character who arrived because the IOC initiated a wildcard program that would allow people from, developing countries to participate in sports they wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity. So He raised his hand and he walked into the office in Equatorial Guinea.
In Malabo.
Yeah, Malabo, and he said, "What do you got?" And they said, "Well, we have swimming," and he was the only one, and he said, "Okay." Only problem was he didn't know how to swim. Never been in the water. So a fisherman at a local lake taught him how to swim. And then he got 1 hour a day in a pool at a hotel down in the city. He arrives in Sydney. He gets his to go up to the starting block, and he's wearing a pair of gym shorts. We're all looking down, and some fellows from South Africa say, "Hey, come here," and they give him a pair of Speedos. And he goes up there with 2 other guys. Now, the 2 other guys, they jumped in the pool before the starter gun, and they're removed, disqualified immediately. And Eric, looking dumbfounded, goes to walk away. He thinks he's gone too, and the Olympic officials go over and say, "No, you can swim by yourself." Now, this is where it got interesting, real interesting. If you're a writer, an observer, if you're an everyman, up where I was with many of the journalists, the jock sniffers got really incensed. How dare this guy steal the show? And I said, "No, you're wrong. He's swimming for all of us. That's us if we tried to do this." He had never seen a 50-meter pool before, Eric Basambi. This was the first time he had seen one.
Yeah.
So he dives in. And yeah, they taught him how to swim. And at the time, we believed, a lot of us believed, that he'd be disqualified if he hit the lane markers. So everyone's going, "Eric, straight, don't do it." So he completed his 100-meter freestyle in like 1 minute, 52.72 seconds.
The slowest ever time to qualify.
The winner had 48 seconds. But what did this guy do? He came back. A few years later, his time would have won, I believe, or medaled at the Melbourne Olympics. He later became the coach for the Equatorial Guinea swim team. And to me, that's the Olympics right there.
Both our panelists were there for Eric the Eel in 2000. James, your recollection of that moment?
Exactly. I'm laughing because it's exactly as you described it. It was a pantomime. The crowd in Sydney, big swimming enthusiasts, they know their sport, they know what they're looking at, 10,000 of them roaring. It was amazing. It was one of the most memorable things I've ever seen in the swimming pool, either for the right or the wrong reasons, depending on which side of this you take.
It was remarkable. As James recalls the crowd, yes, that place erupted. You know, everyone knew he wasn't going to win. They just wanted him to finish. Could you finish? Heroic. And then he goes on to be the coach of the swim team. That is what the Olympics is about, right there, this guy.
Well, we can now talk about what the Olympics is no longer about. With all the attention to security in the build-up to the Games, one can almost quip that it's no wonder the shooting competition has been staged 272 kilometers away at the National Sports Range Center in Châteauroux. That's in the center of France. Jokes aside, it's all high-tech these days for events like the air rifle, which where we saw winners this Monday for the Chinese on the men's side and South Korean on the women's side. And pistol shooting of all sorts have been a mainstay at every Olympics since the modern games began. These are some of the images we're seeing from earlier in the day. But of course, some Olympic sports don't stand the test of time. Dueling pistols is one of them. Craig Copetas, there was actually dueling pistols at the Olympics. Explain.
Twice, 1906, 20 meters and 30 meters, and in 1908. In the 1906 games, they shot at dummies. But at the 1908 games, they said, "Hey, why are we shooting at mannequins? Let's load the guns with wax bullets and shoot at each other," which is what they did. And of course, the first winner of gold in dueling pistols was a Frenchman, Léon Moreau, who I believe was a captain, Léon Moreau. Oh, there he is.
There he is, right there.
Yeah, in the Army. And the other photo you're seeing is when they used the wax bullets. And in the 30-meter was one of my countrymen, Konstantinos Sklados, a lieutenant general. He won. He won in the 30-meter. And the joke at the time was, or so the historians tell me, was if you did it right, there would have been no silver medalist.
And by the way, before there was Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon, there was Craig Copetas, reporter for the time at the Wall Street Journal. Craig, you went to the range yourself. You look menacing enough there.
Yes, we were using flintlocks, shooting at mannequins. We were trying to reenact the events of 1906, because when we did this years ago, there was some talk that they would bring back dueling pistols to add some zest appeal to the rifle and pistol competition. So we had to check out how you did it.
All right. Selena Sykes, I believe there are no dueling pistols on the menu for later on Monday.
No, there aren't, Francois. There will be some duels, because obviously there's going to be a big evening here behind me in the Grand Palais, because there is a lot of important fencing going on here this evening, with two French women in the semi-finals of the women's sabre. There's Sarah Balzé, who is the big favourite to get the first gold for France at Paris 2024 in the fencing. That is Oriane Milot-Breton also joins her in the semi-finals. And we could, if they are both successful in their semi-C, an all-French final. And obviously, of course, there's also lots of swimming to enjoy this evening. Back in Nanterre, there's the women's 100-metre breaststroke final. There's lots of finals, women's 400 individual medley final, and some men's finals as well, Francois.
All right, and you'll be covering it for us. Selena Sykes, many thanks for joining us. I want to thank as well Craig Copetas, James Parrack for gracing us with his presence in the middle of you know, you're in the middle of the first week when we're really into the swimming at this point.
Yep. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have you as well. And always a pleasure to have you. There's, by the way, much more on the Olympics on our website, France24.com.